Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Last Cloudia. Today we're going to be discussing the Street Fighter collaboration, so let's get into it. Now, originally I was going to wait and do my end of year thing and then kind of go over everything kind of briefly, but I realized that the collaborations were just not getting enough love because I was kind of rushing through everything. So I decided this year I'm going to make videos regarding collabs, and then at the end of the year I'll basically briefly go over the rest of the stuff that at least is interesting to me. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about are some of the characters. I'm not going to do a deep dive on these characters. I'm just going to kind of go over my basic thoughts on them, and then I'll go over the arcs because I don't ever talk about them, and I think that's something that's important since arcs are kind of important in Last Claudia. That's how you build your account up and make your units really good. So let's start with the characters first. So we're going to start with Ryu because he was the first one that was released, I believe. So as a thunder attacker, physical DPS, having super armor is kind of a thing that all of these characters are going to have. That's going to be kind of unique to them in this collab. Along with some other things, like if they have low HP, they get certain buffs. So it's an interesting little thing that they're doing. One thing I do want to say before I continue, the advertisement for this game, like the promotions, as far as like when they were doing the collab and kind of like revealing it, was fantastic. They did the whole scene where basically Kyle was posing as Ryu, Ray was posing as Akuma, stuff like that. I thought that was like great marketing at its finest. Just had to give a shout out to the marketing, like when they did the promo video before it started. But yeah, basically Ryu's a physical DPS, thunder character. Decent. I don't think he's going to do anything super crazy in like the meta or anything. Like, if you have 2P, you're better off using her if you want to clear content. Otherwise, he's still a decent unit. So, but not a whole lot to really say about him. I think he's decent, but nothing really to brag about. The next character is, the second one released was Chun-Li. Now, Chun-Li is a ice physical DPS character. About the only thing that's really different with her that I like slightly more is that she does have a little bit of emphasis on crits and also like more damage with any of her skills that deal with kicks. I like units that have critical, create critical ups and critical damage stuff and all that. I'm all about it. I know a lot of people don't care for it, but I like it, and that's kind of why, I was happy to pull her when I did. But that's really the basic. Again, she's not going to be nothing super meta. The only thing that I will say is special about her is that her like innate crit rate is higher than most characters. So if you really like characters with a high crit rate, a Chun-Li is going to be like in the top tier. But nobody talks about that because what I've learned about the community here is that they're more about like the dual world stuff like that. Criticals aren't really a big deal in this community, so if you're not really into crits, I get it. I'm like the minority here, which is why I'm more of a Genshin player because they care a lot about crits, but that's a different thing altogether. But I do like Chun-Li for her high crit rate due to some of her passive and her paid gear. Like I said, you're not going to find many units with a crit rate innate that's going to be as high as hers. Even like when you build them all up, she's going to have higher than most people. But that's basically what I like about her specifically. And the last character, who I honestly believe is the star of the show, let's be real, Guile. So this is a counter character, a counter tanky, really really amazing niche like kind of character. So this is not the kind of person you're going to want to throw in your like PvE scenario if you're trying to kill bosses or doing like time trials, stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend using him there. He is strictly a PvP unit, so you're going to want to use him in Arena, you're going to want to use him in GVG, and he has a lot of good counter passives. His counters, if you have a skill stock ready, whenever he gets hit by a physical attack, he will actually counter, which is highly convenient. So he's going to be a menace in all our PvP scenarios. I am 100% building this character up. I still got a couple of things I need to do to get him where I need to be, but we'll get there eventually. In the meantime, he's still doing pretty decent in Arena, so no complaints. I like defensive counter type characters. Like that's why I built up my TP the way she is, because I like that defensive niche that is not really appreciated much in this game. So that's kind of how it is. But yeah, definitely the star of the show, Guile. He's an Earth damage unit, so you might want to build him for that kind of damage too for his counters. But other than that, like really, really solid star of the show. Super hyped to get him. And something kind of funny that I've noticed over the past few years, most of the counter characters we have came from collabs. The only collab, or the only non-collab character that we have that has counter in their kit, if I'm not mistaken, is Gavin, and nobody talks about that. But the first collab character that we had that dealt with counter was Violet. Now, Violet's not someone that gets talked about much either, but I was using her in GVG for a little bit, and she was doing okay, but, she was power crap pretty quickly. And then, of course, once TP came out, who was the second counter character that came, for a collab, she was super strong. And now we have Gao, who's going to just destroy everything as a counter character. But yeah, the majority of our counter characters have all been from collabs, which I find very interesting. So let's talk about the arcs. Now, let me see. I don't know what order they came in, so I might be out of order on this, and I guess that's whatever. So this one here is pretty decent. Basically, you get thunder damage boost and some caps if you get them in fan or break. So it's basically encouraging you to break bosses. It gives you a benefit because you'll get more cap, and then if you throw on a thunder unit, even better. So it's a decent trait. As far as the learnables, two-handed claw boost is decent. Thunder High Drive is good if you don't have it. Calm is good if you're doing GVG. And, like I said, it's decent learnables. As far as the actual ether reward, it's okay. I'll be real with you guys. Ether rewards in arcs are not as good as they used to be. Like, year one last Cloudia had a lot of the best ether rewards in the entire game, outside of URs. Like, the UR awards that we get most of the time are good. Notice I said most of the time. That there are a couple of UR items that aren't really that great. But for the most part, the URs are great. The year one SRs are really, really strong, at least half of them, I'd say, compared to the SSRs that we get, like, nowadays. Like, I'm not going to really be talking much about the ether rewards because, let's be real, they're nothing special. Not anymore. The SSRs are just nothing to brag about. But other than that, it's a pretty decent art. The second art that came out, or I'll just say the second one that I remember. Let me see if I can figure out which one it was. Was it this one? No, that's the Halloween one. Let me find it. Apparently it was not prepared. Here it is. So this particular arc is basically, if you're having a multi-wave fight, you get some boost to your damage, which would have been good years ago. Unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of the content is like 1 or 2 waves, so it's not as great. The decent part is the second part, when hitting an attribute weakness, you get more damage and damage cap. I think that's pretty cool, because a lot of times when you're, preparing for building your team for a certain content, you're building to go against their weakness. So throw this on any character that has an attribute that they're going to be weak to. You're going to get some free damage and damage cap. Not bad at all. As far as learnables, decent stuff like crit up if you don't have it. I mean, crit up's in a lot of different arcs, so that's not really that important. Dog is good if you don't have the other arc that has it. There's another collab arc that has this as well, but it's a pretty good one. Unclad Toughness, I think that's the one that gives you defense if you don't have an armor equipped on the armor slot, which means that if you're dual wielding, you'll still get the bonus, so that's good for dual wielding defense and stuff like that, so that's pretty awesome. Bonds with Masters is nothing special, and Driven with Heart and Soul is an interesting ability. I think that it opens up some interesting tech that you can try for certain content, but I'm not really going to be doing anything like that, but I'm sure there are other creators who've already discussed how interesting and unique that ability is, and I think it's interesting too. Just nothing I'm going to really be testing. But overall, it's a decent art. Either reward again, nothing special. You know, I'll just let you look at it for a second, but again, nothing we're talking about. Like I said, the either rewards nowadays are just really not that great. Um, and there's one more that I'm clearly missing here. I gotta see if I can figure out which one I'm missing. And there it is. Okay, so this is the one that came with Guile. So obviously for counter stuff, so this gives you basically an increased damage for counters. For airborne, I guess. And then if you're on the ground, physical damage taken minus 25%. So basically, you some good defense, and you get some Stonewall 2 effects, so that's pretty cool too. So this will be good for your counter units. There are other arcs you can use that might work a little bit better, but if you don't have the better arcs, this is, decent to have if you want to put on Gal or TP or whoever else you decide to use as a counter build. But yeah, the art trade's decent. As far as learnables, Counter Boost 3 is like the real thing that you want there. Punish counter is decent, nothing really to brag about. Heroism up is decent, again, nothing to brag about. But Counter Boost 3 and Punish counter is really what you want this arc for. Those learnables will be really good on the character that need them. So the event is a map in Grandar this time, so that's something that's a little bit different than what you would typically see in a collab. Because a lot of times when they're doing like a map, it's usually Sun Vessel Island or the main world. But it's nice that they're doing a different location. And special shout out to the car. Basically, you can just kind of go through, get your team together, beat up a car like you would in normal Street Fighter. That's a nice little touch. Like, you can kind of tell that the devs actually are fans of Street Fighter with a lot of the interesting details that they put into this event. So I got to give them props on just a good attention to detail. I haven't really said much about my history with Street Fighter, but basically, yes, I've played a lot of Street Fighter in my day back in the 90s and early 2000s. A lot of Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Arcade. I've also played a lot of Third Strike, which is my favorite fighting game of all time. So I do have a lot of history with Street Fighter, and it's cool that they decided to collab with them. Street Fighter 6 is a very successful game on launch, so this is a good time to basically have this event. Now, other things that are important to mention, this fight with Grapple gives you a lot of good rewards. So if you want some good God Forge materials and like just awakening stuff, like you can get a lot of good stuff here. So grind the crap out of that. Like you're getting, it's 100% worth it. Other than that, I mean, remember to do the manor collection thing. If you do all of it, like beat everybody X amount of times, you get like a 10 pull for the Gal banner. So if you don't have any resources to pull in the banner, just give you a 10 pull. Good luck to those trying to get these characters and arcs. You also have Battle Street. Don't forget to do that once a day. Basically use 10 orbs to, get some free rewards and stuff. Like nothing super crazy. And then like everything else here is just like, beat up X, a certain person 15 times or whatever. Couple of boss stages. There is a time trial going on right now as well. Nothing really worth talking about for me. I always try to go for top 300. That's basically what I do. I haven't been able to make top 30 in like 2 years, so I'm not that good. Like everybody else kind of has figured out how to do it, so I'm pretty much outclassed at this point. But as long as I can get top 300, that's all I care about now. And just good luck to those doing it. It's a good challenge. They balanced it really well. There was one time trial that was so difficult that they had to actually dial it back a bit. But this was a good challenge that's still beatable. So, good luck to those that are participating. And I do encourage everyone to at least participate. I mean, you do get rewards for participating, and I think it's worth it. So, if you're not super competitive, I'd say just clear it. Don't worry about the time. Just get your reward for doing it. That's pretty much it there. One thing that I do have to talk about now, so far, everything that I've mentioned about this collab has been just positive stuff. Like overall, they've done a fantastic job with this event, and I want to let them know that they did a really good job. However, there is something that we do need to talk about. This is something I've brought up before in the past, and I'm going to bring it up again because it's very valid. And apparently, a lot more people are speaking out about it too now, which is a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on that train because, I've been talking about it forever anyway. The pity for the gacha. So you've had 3 back-to-back weeks of banners. 3 banners, 1 each week, 3 characters, 3 arcs. There is no reason that we should not have been able to have shared pity. There's no excuse for not having that here. We had it during the double collab when we did the Star Ocean and Valkyrie profile. I thought that was like a very, very good thing. I thought that was going to be potentially setting a standard for future collabs. And this would have been the perfect opportunity to bring that back because, again, we got 3 back-to-back weeks of stuff. Let your budget players and your free-to-play players have a chance to get something when they're trying to pull in all 3 banners. And let's say they just miss the character they really, really want. All those pulls can add up to give them something. Now, I understand that this is a business at the end of the day, and they need to make money, but other gacha games do shared pity. Genshin Impact's a perfect example. That's one of the top grossing gacha games on the market, and they do a shared pity. Not only do they do a shared pity, but their pity number is low. Like, you only need 90 pulls total to get the pity. Now, if you want to get technical, when you get to 90 pulls, it's a 50-50 to get the on-banner character. But even worst case scenario, if you lose the 50-50 and you have to start all over, that's a total of 180 pulls. Here, it's 250 pulls to get the character and like 200 pulls to get an arc. And of course, if you want a UR, it's even higher. So to come up with the excuse of, well, we got to make money, you'll still make money if you do a shared pity. I understand you're probably not going to ever do a DOH shared pity, but I think for the collab specifically, throw us a bone. You know what I mean? Throw the budget players and the free-to-play players a bone. Let us be able to have a shared pity on these limited collabs, especially when the 3rd week we have a banner that's only going to last 1 week. Like, that's unacceptable. That's just trash. I'm just going to be real with you. Like, it. I like the game. I want to support it a lot, but this is greedy, way too greedy. You know what I mean? And I definitely think that's something that needs to be addressed by the devs. Like I say, everything else you've done with this collab has been great. This is the one thing that holds it back from being like really, really, really good. Is the terrible gacha structure. Like, it needs to change. And for those that want to argue, well, they're giving you like a bunch of tickets. Let's be real. How many times have you actually pulled a collab character or arc from a ticket? I can tell you from my personal memory that the last time that I pulled anything from a ticket on a collab was back in the Tales of series, and that was 1.5 years ago. Like, that's a long time ago to just get nothing. A lot of the stuff that I have, I had to use my free crystals, or I would use paid crystals if I want to get like a weapon or something. But for the most part, I've been just saving up free crystals, skipping a lot of banners because, let's be real, most of the banners are physical DPS characters that are going to be power crept anyway. So I don't mind skipping a bunch of stuff, saving for the collab, but there are a lot of people that don't do that. And I think it's not fair for them to not be able to, potentially have a chance to pull something when they don't get nothing out for tickets. And or they say over 30K and still don't pull nothing. Like, that's just unacceptable. So something needs to be done here. I know it's not going to happen with the DOH stuff, but for at least with the collabs, like, throw your people a bone, lower the pity number, and or do a shared pity. Like, do something to make it, palatable for those who are supporting for a long time that, are not as fortunate as some others. And that's really the issue here. It's just, they should have had a shared pity. But at a scale of 1 to 10, overall, I give this collab an 8. I think that they did a really, really good job with the advertising, a really good job with the event. Like, I have no problem with the way they started the event at all. They did the music well. I mean, like I said, the only issue I have is the gotcha system. It's just trash. It's really, really bad. Uh, so and that's pretty much it. So if you have any other thoughts I didn't mention that you think the devs should need to know, definitely put it in the comments. I'm sure they watch and read stuff. So, make your voices heard. You know what I mean? Like, change doesn't happen unless we say something or we say something with our wallets. I'll leave it at that. But I hope you guys are enjoying the collab. Like I said, Street Fighter, awesome. You know what I mean? And I hope you all guys are having fun. Good luck on the ranking. Good luck on your polls. And we'll see you guys later.